Good afternoon. I'm Joan Soriano. I'm the coordinator of threat hunting of S2 Group, and I'm going to talk to you about the WIRTE case, which is something that we revealed, that we uncovered. And even though the threat hunting is quite an interesting issue which has appeared a lot in the media lately, I want to explain to you all of the concepts behind this. So in the first place, I would like to tell you what Lab 52 is. This is the Cybersecurity Division or department that we've created in S2 Group. So these are teams normally which are very sophisticated with a lot of human and material resources and that have political purposes. So targeting such important issues require doing in detail and in-depth analysis, and there are more and more issues of this significance, and therefore in S2 Group we've created a department just to work in that way and to control specific matters in our different security incidents. So when we have to give a response to a security incident, this means if a company calls us and say we have a problem and we need to solve it, we don't know what's happening, we are realizing that information of our company is being published on the internet, or we may have a breach or a leakage of information, or there may be a non-controlled access. When this happens, what ideally we would need NS solutions, navigation solutions, NetFlow, and other type of protocols such as ICMP, NetBIOS. This is what we would need at the level of the network. And then at the level of the endpoint, we would need to monitor the activity with SysMon, antivirus registry, and capabilities of acting on equipments. We would also request to have an in-depth analysis of the activities with event log or syslog, web navigation data, and logs of other security devices such as antivirus, WAF, DLP, etc. That would be the ideal case for us, the information that we would love to gather, but this doesn't always happen. The reality is that factors that are more political than technical hinder the response of an incident expert. So in this case, the things that normally we are being provided is DNS. So we started analyzing and researching on DNS. What type of anomalies can we find when we analyze DNS? How can we hunt through DNS? So firstly, we have domains that work at 127.0.0.0/8 or reserved IPs. For example, if a binary request for a resolution, if we cannot use it, we would use the local one. Then we can check the DNS servers. If there are domains that can work with more IPs, such as fast flags, that would be useful too. Also longer domains, such as domains with maximum number of characters of 253. This is the maximum number of characters in a domain. And the highest number of characters in a subdomain is 63. So if you want to filter through a DNS resolution, you are going to try to put as much information as possible in a field. So sometimes we divide the domain in subdomains of 63. Also, the number of requests solved, non-satisfactory solved requests, etc. Domains with the higher entropy, the highest entropy. Sometimes these domains are not very easily to access because they are even they cannot even be pronounced. And also domains with TXT registration, that in which you can send fields with a lot of information that can be used as a command control. And then capital letters or non-capital letters. So also we can look for characters that are not allowed. We can also analyze the Unicodes. Here, for example, you see that there is an R, but when there is a // S, that's Unicode. Then DNS, with TXT, TTL, low TTLs, where we can start looking for all these things. But in the end, it is very difficult to find failures here. So in the end, what we are using is the Levenshtein distance, which is the differences that there may be between words that are similar. This is a very well-known technique that means using domains that look like Microsoft, Outlook, Google, etc. In this case, we found a domain which was Microsoft.store. So this is quite shocking, but with the threat hunting tool, we can see that the requests are very frequent and happen every 6 minutes. I don't know if you can see it properly. So this is an automatized activity, the one that's taking place in this domain, Microsoft.store. If we look for the information of the domain, we can see that this has been created in August 2018, or well, July 2018. So there is not a lot of information. The registrar is named cheap. Many ATP groups, in order not to give explanation, register under this register name. So, well, as you can see, information is very general. There is not a lot of it. The address is an address from Ukraine. So if we take the information of the endpoint, what are we going to see? We are seeing a PowerShell function with a parameter execution policy bypass. Regarding PowerShell, you can introduce parameters and you don't have to specify the whole command. I mean, the whole command would be execution policy, but here we just have EP, and that's enough for PowerShell. There is also that is non-interactive, and just writing NI, it also works. So if you can see these characteristics, you may think that that person was trying to hide information. So this is something that we can use too. If we take the whole PowerShell, this is the description of the whole PowerShell, we can see that there are requests, different requests, and request of wait for, and in the end, it's an execution. So in the temporary user folder, there are these files which are kind of suspicious too. So we started analyzing the VBS, and what we can see in the VBS is that it creates a W script file and it opens a Word document. This .rar is filed in the temporary folder of the user. This is the activity that we've seen before. The information, as you can see, is 64 and it docks itself. Then the backdoor is created with PowerShell. This is the information of the code 64, and this is the PowerShell, which is the same one that we've seen before. Microsoft.store, post, etc. I don't know if I'm being clear, but the thing is that we have that VBS that is creating a PowerShell, and the PowerShell is executing and it is running like that all the time. Once we know that there is an equipment doing suspicious things, we try to use as many sources as possible. Some of the sources are the antivirus of the equipment, which is useful sometimes. It's true that it doesn't say that if it has erased the binary code or not, but it may find some weird things that may be useful when doing incident management. For example, here it says, I found a risk, which is this PowerShell Empire, which is a framework that is used to do lateral and side movements, and some actors really like to use these softwares in order to get infiltrated into an organization. If we keep on analyzing the VBS, we're going to find a typo. This WIRTE SCT file should say write SCT. So there is a mistake here, and this type of mistakes, it's going to help us identify these patterns in other type of sources, private and public sources. And this is going to help us understand if this attack has been spreaded or if other companies have suffered this type of attacks. So what we did was creating a rule by searching for this typo. So we searched the typo against VT Intel. Total virus has a part which is paid payment, and you can use a YARA rule to see if someone at some moment and somewhere in the world has found a file which is similar to the one that we found. And we found 5 similar documents. One of the documents was addressed to the Kuwait consulate, and well, this is a very important country in the region. The 2 other documents had been uploaded from Palestine, and the author is sending these documents to the State Cooperation Organization of States of that region. Here you have the translation of the later into Spanish. And as we can see, the target of all the virus was threatening political objectives. In the end, the attackers are also looking for information with political purposes in the geographical area of Palestine and this in Gaza. And this document was commented by Nick Carr, which is a very well-known expert on these issues. And what Nick Carr says is the same thing. They've found the same problems. So once we found out how the attackers were acting and to whom the campaign was addressed, we tried to do an attribution in order to determine, to find out who the attacker is, and also in order to be able to control that in future incidents. So the main countries or actors that could be related to that region is Iran, and these are some of the main suspects, Syria, Saudi Arabia, and Daesh. But it didn't fit for us, because none of the TTPs fitted with what we had seen during the incident response process. So we had to think about a new group besides the reporting. And we called this group the WIRTE group because of that typo that we found. So what we did is was contacting the Mitre entity which is trying to standardize the tactic, techniques, and procedures of TTP groups. It is creating a very interesting matrix, and this matrix is trying to identify all of the actors or attacker and the main techniques that they are using. So we reported that this was a new actor, a new attacker that hadn't been published before. We explained the techniques used, and we gave evidence to, we provided evidence to, and now, as you can see, it's part of this Mitre entity, this Mitre database. So this is what I wanted to say to you regarding this WIRTE case, and what we are doing in how these new techniques or tactics that we are finding when doing incident response are being reported. We have a specialist working on that. With this information, we try to organize the information and to provide tools to our systems in order to enhance the security of them. And this is it. If you have any questions, I will be glad to answer to all of them. Maybe you are just taking a nap after lunch. Well, anyway, thank you very much to all of you. I hope that you've enjoyed my presentation.